And then we break the Dolphin. Yep, that's the new one. Arrangement number 5. No, arrangement number 3, actually. Well, let's check the messages before we start.
3:14 p.m.
Because we're going to get it.
Hey, what's are you there?
Of course.
Tuesday, 3:27 p.m.
And then we break. Have an identity.
Message deleted.
Last.
Tuesday, 7:29 p.m. Message deleted. End of message.
So we're going to begin again. Take the survey of the class and make sure we don't have any other reactions that can break other fraction. Or that we could go and dance like a, clown with no cigar. Yes, like a clown with no cigar. That's exactly what I mean. We're going to break this down in a whole new calligraphy. Now, who exactly makes up these kind of, coincidental ideas that sort of fall apart? Well, no dates. Sorry, I'm not going to bring up any more dates. Don't need to. This is electronic. So electronic, sometimes it saves your dates for you. So you don't have to say too many dates. I could say that it's May 2011, and that's enough for me, for what I need to say. Because I could break down things every day in audio recordings, and sometimes it works, other times it does not. So I have to apologize if I break down things before they're necessarily needed to break down. I'm going to make sure of this preposterous idea. Yes, I had a weird day, but you know what? I'm going to say this. Everything is turning into a fraction of a fraction of a fraction. Not a fraction of a second, not no Fight Club reference. No, none of that shit. Forget that. I'm going to throw that against the wall with no idea. Only like 8 minutes and 40 seconds of the movie, then I shut it off. Can't stand it anymore. After that one line. Strangers with this kind of honesty make me go a big rubbery one. I want to shuttle the cock that makes that come into the field with no idea of what it's trying to get to. What's the idea? What's the stem? Where's the emotion? Where's the threat? Where's the idea? Where's the emotion? Where's the threat? Because there's only so much beginnings you could do before you have that asphyxiation of nothing anymore. And you're like, forever. Because, I guess you could say this. Misanthropy, while misunderstood, no threat there. I'm not saying that there may not be something behind this misanthropy. Because maybe there is. Maybe there is something behind all this hatred for humanity that actually is not directly conformed to just hating humanity. Because I don't think it's that easy to hate humanity. Meaning not, the emotion side. No. I don't think it's that easy to fall to that forward state. Kind of like, whoa, trying to do the Michael Jackson Smooth Criminal kind of lean forward. You can't do that without the right shoes. But see, that's the identity. It came from something, but it also came from something that didn't come. That's one of the biggest things. It's not your experiences that threaten who you're going to be. It's what you don't get that threatens you. It's the kind of, maybe social environment, maybe something more than that, maybe something less than that. Maybe it's something you earned before and don't earn anymore. Hey, take me for example. I earned friendships before. Do I earn them now? Yeah, like sourdough bread. That's how much I earn friendships now. It's every once in a while. Because not everybody wants sourdough bread every day. They'll have it every once in a while in increments, sort of like, I want some sourdough today. And, that's how I kind of am. I'm kind of like that sourdough for everybody. I make them laugh. At the same time, their appeal to me kind of drowns out by half a minute. Maybe more than that. Maybe they could deal with me for 45 minutes, but after that, they have to say, sorry, I have to go. And then they go. But let's start from the threatened point of view, because obviously there's something to it. There's something to this threatened point of view. It comes from something. It doesn't just come from nothing and identify itself and then throw itself into the ground again. Because you can't do that. You can't go that fast. If you can, then literally this isn't about being misanthropic. It's about trying to get attention, and it's trying to be procedurally throwing yourself into this guilty position of non-guilt, which doesn't make sense because at some point your non-guilt is going to fall back and hit you in the face, not anybody else. I mean, you could fall back and hit somebody else in the face with your sarcastic cynicism forever. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to get your comeuppance for keep on doing the eclectic answers of throwing everything to the other ground, because you can't always throw it to the other ground. You have to throw it to the beginning ground, which somehow doesn't come up until you realize that you've walked up to the whole threat, and then you've seen the background damage. And then you look at everything that's happened throughout the years, and you see almost every single thing fall into this kind of, not pattern, because, I mean, take for example the way I grew up. Now, I'm not talking about the way I grew up physically, mentally, economically, financially. No, I want to look at something more simple. Not to say I don't like looking at those important things too, because they're very important elements, but the one I'm trying to get to right now is mostly gaming. Now, I know that sounds like a strange way of thinking, because obviously I grew up very stressed about video gaming. But at the point when I lost the Sega Genesis, that left. The whole idea of playing video games kind of left for a while. And I'm not lying there. It left. It kind of fell down to the, it became the sourdough, where you only play every once in a while. And when I really started playing again, the computer was taken away. Robbery style, just like the Sega Genesis. So it kind of fell back and came in, fell back and came in. So that's what happened. That's why the period of my destruction of audio tapes, or as I call it, the 96 to 2000 era of me, kind of came back together after all those incidents, because I realized by 2003 I don't need it anymore. I don't need to concentrate on the video gaming or aspects of these sort of personas that just come about. I could actually concentrate on one thing and have that identity with me. So it's like when I had my first computer in 1998, for example. And I remember this. I'm not lying. I'm not putting somebody else's floor on the ground, and I'm not trying to break anybody's aspects of who they are and who I am, because this isn't about that anymore. By the end of 1998, yes, by the end of 1998, meaning there's some kind of identity to the fact that before 1998, or the beginning of 1998, was a totally different story than the end of it. Because in the middle of it, there was this middle ground where you don't know where you're starting or ending. So by the end of 1998, you're having this total different identity that's just coming up with every flourishing idea. So then you kind of just go, oh, where am I now? And then you come back to the beginning and then you say, oh, that power over there is something different. So then you see everything and then you sort of say, nah, that isn't it. So then I got my computer games. Trespasser, which is, I bought it when it was new. I got it at Staples. And look at that. That was way back, maybe at the end of 1998, turning into 1999. And I remember getting Trespasser, Jagged Alliance, Part 2, I think. No, I got... Wait, no. Yeah, it was Trespasser, Jagged Alliance, Part 2, Star Wars, a lot of the Star Wars games, especially, I think X-Wing Alliance, because it came out in 1999, so I'm pretty sure I got all those games in that order at Staples. And I remember getting it at Staples. No lie there. Went to Staples, saw it there, and I think it was the Staples right here at Town Center. So, in fact, wait, I gotta remember, what year did Town Center open? It might have opened in 1999. It might have. Because I remember something about 1999 and it being opened. It might have been. Maybe some parts were. Maybe not all of it was, but I think they did open certain parts that were already done. So, I'm looking at it from that point of view and saying, oh, yeah, that's right. Because that's how I got those games in the first place. And then, I just finally started to say, these are the games I'm going to stick with my entire life. Meaning, I'm not going to go any further anymore. There's nothing else to find. There's nothing enjoyable in that. Like the old threat of Sega Genesis being my nightmare of going, leave me alone, I'm playing, was gone. Now I was playing Jurassic Park Trespasser, a slow game, very slow-paced game. An open-world environment. And it became a journey. Myst. Another one. All the Star Wars games, another one. Although the Star Wars games are a lot faster paced, and at the same time, besides being faster, they also acquire certain techniques that I cannot always accomplish. So they all, you just kind of have to throw yourself into it and say, man, I can't beat this mission. And then you just clap your hands because you don't know what to do next. Because sometimes those missions are very hard to beat. I remember the first time I beat Jagged Alliance. I mean, X-Wing Alliance. It was a while after I had it. And, yeah, it was. No lie. When I first got X-Wing Alliance, I couldn't beat it for nothing. I had the joystick, I had everything all set, and it ran pretty well. It didn't run perfectly, and it didn't run at a high graphics level where you could see everything looking good, but it ran pretty good, enough for you to play in the space, and it just ran okay. Ran good. And then the domino effect of getting Shenmue for Dreamcast, of getting Deus Ex for the computer. Yeah, all those. Because, I'll be honest, the first games that I did play were Myst, and I knew the Myst series was going to be a big part of, something that I'd play the rest of my life. Jagged Alliance, oh, I loved it. I felt like, you know what, this is how they should keep it too. Because it's unique. It's turn-based attacks, and it makes sense. It's not stilted. It doesn't feel stilted at all, because most of the turn-based strategy, whatever games, they're so choreographed with groups that it's hard to do individual movements. So that's why turn-based strategy doesn't really work unless you have individual movement that makes you more, experiential with one thing. With an individual, you have a smarter chance of getting something accomplished. You may have a group, but that group works also as individuals. So it helps it create that sort of thing and come together and band together, because every time the mission ended, you just come back together as a group and you can move them all at the same time. So boom, no worries there. It became the sort of thing that it needed to be. And to be honest, if they change it at all, it's not going to work anymore. It's not going to be something original. It's going to be something like, it's like having Jell-O and saying it's Play-Doh. Or it's like, playing with Jell-O and saying it's Play-Doh. Or at the same time, it's like saying, oh, honey, you're eating Play-Doh. But he may actually be eating Jell-O and you can't notice. That's how it goes. And then that's how life is too, It became this sort of thing where it's like, oh, come on, you can have a better idea than that. Well, how do I know that? How do I know that you're developing any answers to things now? Are you? I'm asking you out there. Are you developing anything for any answers out there? Because I can't sure see them, but I don't need to see them. If it's good that you can identify with something, congratulations. No sarcasm, no cynicism, none of that shit. No, because that's not going to fix anything. Haven't seen it fix anything, personally. Not saying that we can't have fun with each other, but I do think sarcasm and cynicism are one of the lowest forms to have fun with each other. But not to say that it's like, oh, well, it's the lowest form, being somebody higher up than that. No. I just think it's the lowest form now because it's been done so long. That's why I think it's the lowest form, because it's been overdone. It's not underrated or overrated, it's overdone. That's it. It's not like it's so popular, because I don't know if it is. In fact, I don't think it is. It's more that it's kind of like eclectic, You just sort of develop it, and you can't get rid of it. But you can. Literally, it must have happened at some point where it went away for a while because there were other developing ideas and developing forms and developing music and movies and things like this. If you want to talk entertainment. If you want to talk culturally, it's just culturally... I can't even speak right now. But if you want to talk in any distinction, obviously sarcasm and cynicism have not always been there. And if they have, they've only been there for one way. It hasn't been a two-way street with sarcasm and cynicism. I guess in certain ways you can respect it now, to an extent, because now it's 2 ways, 3 ways, 4 ways, 5 ways, 6 ways, 100 ways, and it doesn't solve anything. It doesn't take away anything. Although it hurts things too, because if you're if you're in the majority, for example, let's just point that out that way. Because at some point, there's this acknowledgement of you're being hurt by somebody on the internet, for example. Like, let's look at a lot of grassroots organizations. Let's say there's someone online. Let's not say they're a part of a grassroots organization. Let's just say they agree with the concept of a grassroots organization, and they're always writing comments about things. Now, let's say somebody reads that comment that disagrees completely with the grassroots organization, and all of a sudden gets butthurt by this comment. Now, does it necessarily have to be something online or in person, or somehow you just overhear it? It doesn't matter. Let's not disable the internet because of this. Let's just look at the facts. Because if you're that hard-written about something, you have to realize that at the same time, you're in a position of power too. Because you have people behind you. So basically, this is the sardonic view that I have, is that somebody who's sarcastic and cynical at a level where they should appreciate that a lot of people believe them, and a lot of people believe what they believe, the only thing they do is go attack the others. Me being a person who personally, I find that very disrespectful, personally, because I don't think it solves anything. You're not going to get rid of that view. And obviously, if you tried 100 years, you're not going to get rid of that view. But do you need to get rid of that view? Not really. In fact, there's more broiling inside of you than any Vex head in the whole audience, or in the whole world. I mean, look at the audiences for shows. Think about talk shows for a second. Why do talk shows exist in the format they do? Let's see. Somebody's admitting something so personal, and they have an audience for it. Oh, yeah, that's perfect, you know. Yeah, that'll fix their problem. I've never seen that solve anything. No matter what, no talk show could ever do that for me, unless there's no audience, and we take care of those things individually. As I call it, if you really want to show yourself in person, you don't have an audience. You just have two people talking, or, you know, whatever amount there is. You just have them talking on a stage. And it doesn't have to be a stage. It could be just a little... Look at, you know, there's other shows like At Home, or... No, not At Home. What is it? The kids... The ones on PBS. You know, there's this one show about parents and how they should treat their kids. There's no audience. But it looks set up that way, where it's like it's a personal, conversationalist setting. And that's the perfect way to do it. Because you don't create an image of, whoa, man, there's other people here that have no idea the stipulations of this. Obviously, they can't solve anything with an audience. Duh. You know, and that's one of the stupidest things that we assume, is that, oh yes, television audience is going to solve everything. It makes sense for a sitcom, but it doesn't make much sense for a talk show. Unless you have the audience always participate in the show, then it makes sense. But if you don't have the audience participate in the show and just cheer and growl and, you know, make all these Humphrey Bogart sounds, you don't really get anywhere with the audience. It's pointless to have them there. Unless you're going to want to rouse them up and say, well, what do you guys think, you know? Please, you know. The only time they should be there is the best of the year show or something, you know. There's the funniest parts of last year, and then you see how they felt and reacted to those things. You see them react only once, though. So you don't overflow the idea and imagery and sort of forget about the fact that these are humans right here. And you don't just ground them up into flour like a baseless tarp. I don't know. You don't do that. You fix these things, actually. And not completely. There's no perfection in it. But there is a better way of doing it. I mean, it's just like looking at all the systems that we say are the only ones available. Or that... The only reason we always put down all these other systems is because they've existed. We never actually looked at the fact that, well, what about a new system? Well, there's no percentage of proof for it. Well, but see, that's the problem. If we're going to use all these old systems that failed too, because to be honest, you know, a lot of them failed. Actually, all of them failed. If they did not fail, they would still be around. And then there you go. You just begin again and sort of have that heartthrob attitude towards it. But I mean, getting back to the story, you know, it's just like with the two lesbians that I know. You know, I mean, they're cool. Actually, they're really good friends, I think, personally. Even though one of them is kind of, you know, upset with me. But she's also been that kind of person with her girlfriend. So it's not like it began with me. It didn't. In fact, I'm sort of the person who just scrounges up the kind of, well, you know, the separation of church and state. Well, what if you have to deal with church and state together? Now, I'm not saying that literally. I'm talking about more with this friendship with these two. You know, imagine if you have to deal with church and state together. How do you deal with it? You don't. You don't know how. You can't do it at the same time. You're not a simultaneous person. It's like giving a girl simultaneous orgasms, you know. How often is that going to happen? You know, maybe somebody else can do it. Thank you very much. Haven't done it once, my friend, unless they somehow got orgiastic consummation from just seeing me, which I highly doubt. But hey, you never know. Maybe that's why I had stalkers. They got orgasms from me, and they were like, oh man, I gotta see how he is. You know, the orgiastic consummation and depraved eroticism. Because maybe that's what it was. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. But I mean, that's the identity of it. You just sort of have to come back around and see it from another end. And maybe I was wrong and sort of should use my spidey sense to pick up everything better. But how would I know? How would I know to pick up everything better if there's nothing to pick up? Or if there's an idea that hasn't been picked up before? Who knows? You know, it's like having a trunk of an elephant in front of you, you know. And well, not in front of you, but let's say you have an elephant's trunk. You know, it's like, oh man, what am I going to do with this thing now? And that's what happens, you know. You just have that sort of and then you don't know, you know. So I mean, there are many ideas we can start from. I mean, okay, sure, of course we can start from many ideas. I'm picking this up right now, but I mean, literally, how many ideas can we fall back on? Not many. I'm not saying that we have to fall back on many ideas, because we don't have to. And from what I know personally, I think my friendships are going to work out fine. I don't think it's going to work out perfectly. I certainly don't think so, because I've seen exactly how it's been with, you know, Chandra and Jax and all these other people that I know, you know. It's not going to work out perfectly. In fact, I'm probably going to lose my friendships over time. Maybe because, hey, he's not in school anymore. Why'd I have to be his friend now? I don't agree with him, you know. And there you go. There's the idea to axe it, you know, axe it like the old axe murderer. You know, you don't have any reason to be around anymore, pretty much. Unless you want to. Unless you're going to do something with that person that's more beneficial to your life. But then again, you have to look at that life and say, will I be conjunctive to him? Would I, you know, accept certain things about him, or would I not? And then you just sort of start from there again, and then you say, I'm going to mimic ideas. I don't want to taste that threat right now. And then you just sort of say, well, better not. You know, he won't like it, and I know that about him. And then you just sort of, you don't have any idea where to start from. So you just mix everything up like in a mixing bowl, and then you see exactly what the problems are, and you see exactly how you come back to the beginning through this whole rocket sphere, you know. It's like the old Godzilla film. See the old Godzilla film, for example? The American one, actually. I'm talking about the American one, yes. You know, you watch the old American Godzilla film. Well, remember, all the eggs were down underneath the Earth. Well, the Earth. The Earth, the civilization of man, I should say. And in the Earth. You know, that's where all the eggs were and everything. And, see, that's exactly what's happening right now. We're all traveling down that shaft, and we're saying, man, look at this. It's been down here. That's it. That's where you start from. You don't start from the overhanging image of a doll or something, you know. You start from that the old pike that you used to, you know, the one you used to hit things with, but I can't remember exactly what they're called. It's not one of those hay things. No, it's not not the hay things. It's not one of those, you know, sprawling desert storm things that just sort of start up. No. It's like you just start these ideas and then you don't end them. Okay? It's like a flower basting on an open fire. It's not going to go anywhere. It's probably going to burn a little, but not too much. It's probably just going to sit there and go, why are you doing this to me? You know, I have a wife and 3 kids at home. But, I mean, forget about that for now. Let's look at the facts. Because obviously there's other facts to look at. Besides, oh, well, Marcello's just mandering on. Mandering on. Who's mandering on? You've never seen any mandering. Because you don't know what mandering is. You don't know what ranting is. You don't even know what eyes are. I don't know. You know. So, I mean, I'm looking at this from a perspective that I personally hold true. You know, and I believe that it's reprehensible for most people to just use sarcasm and cynicism to base their answers off of. Only. Because I do think that's where it ends at. You know, whether or not it begins at that, it doesn't matter. If you're going to end it at that point, then all the sardonic conversation you've had throughout the whole day, if you've spent a lifetime talking about it during the day, it doesn't matter. Because if you're going to end on the same note that everybody else does and sort of clip the Cliff Notes version, you're not going to get real answers. You're just going to say, I accept this answer. And then that's the sort of end of it. You just squiggle out of it and you say, I'm going to be like a kid and squiggle on the lines and everything in this coloring book. And not worry about the fact that you have to stay in the lines and look at everything connected together. And not just make your own lines. And squiggle. Purple. Or whatever color you like. Because that's what most people do. You don't actually look at the things and try to say, you know what, I'm going to look at everything connected together. Oh, see something you don't like, don't agree with. So, I mean, the beginning doesn't start right here. The beginning starts by looking at everything and saying, I'm not going to compile everything and trust everything. It's not going to get me anywhere. I have to get my own sources and look at this information and see if it's relatively sound. And if it's sound, then there's a problem. Because the sound is exactly what most people fight. They don't like sound information. They like having this argument about rebuffing every rebuff, and that rebuffs everything that you rebuff, and then the tactless sounds of conversation somehow becomes an argument of bolstering egos that says one has to defend it. One has to defend it. But somehow two defend it, 3, 4, 5, 10 have to defend it, and then you find out the ever-scaling scheme of ideas that fly on Halloween. You know, you fly up the mountaintop like a dove, or a crow, to be more correct, as the crow can outlast the dove. And we'll see exactly what happens when we find every vexation fall into place. No other being could ever say that, because most people would say the cattle is blue. Most people would say that the cattle is white because it's a beautiful creature. The monkey is black because it's an ugly creature. And then that's all you base it off of, the color. Pfft, the coloring scheme of ideas. I look at everything and I see colors everywhere. Not because, oh, he's on drugs. No. I write in colors. Everything that I write, I see colors in it. I don't just imagine this sort of fornific brown box, white box. It's going to be huge because it's going to empty everybody's minds of their ideals. Of every single roasting reaction that makes everybody update everything every day on their computers. You're not going to want to update your computers for a while after you read my stuff. And then you just begin again. And you find out every reaction within your own reaction. And then you see your reaction and you go, oh shit, is that how I reacted? And then you boom up again and go, what do I do now? And then you don't know exactly what to do. So you kind of flucture your feet and go, ooh, I'm roasting. Not an open fire, mind you. You are in the fire. Ooh. So, there you go. And that's how you begin a story. That's how you begin arrangement number 3. And douse the flame of sensibility within sense. And that's how I end my story today. Quickly, fast, and no reaction to fame.